Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OnlyLandFans show. My name is Kendall Lejeune, and our guest today is Brent Bowers. Brent Bowers is an investor and coach with a focus on buying and selling vacant land. As an Army officer with over 8 years of service, Brent was spending a great deal of time away from his family, and he knew he needed to make some changes in order to be more present with his wife and children. Brent began investing in real estate as a way to support his family while having more time to spend with them. In a short period of time, Brent was able to expand his business, hire a team, and still had more time to spend with his family. Brent now helps other investors learn the ins and outs of buying land. Brent, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
I am really good. If I could find that mute button, it disappeared on me there. So thanks for having me, Kendall. It's been a long time. I've been wanting to chat with you. So it's good to finally have connected with you. Already met Brad. There seems to be amazing people on this group, and I'm just happy that I got some friends to hang out with because there's not a lot of land investors, and this is going to probably we might lose some of the audience, but I can't stand those house guys. No, I'm just kidding. So.
Yes, as a reformed house guy, I don't take any offense to that whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Brent,
No,
where are you stationed? What's that?
I said it's good to be with other friends. You know, this many land investors in one spot is amazing.
Absolutely. There aren't a ton of us in comparison to other, single family flippers and things like that. So I'm right with you. This is our tribe. This is where we are. So, where are you calling in from? Where's home base for you?
Vero Beach, Florida, and I'd usually be proud of that most of the year, but this month, August, it's terrible. This is the birds can have it. It's too hot here.
Yeah, I hear you. Same in Texas. We've been over 100 degrees for I don't know how many consecutive days. It's been crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Insane. Insane. So let's just jump right in. I'm super excited to chat with you today. So for those of you for those people that are listening in that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about how did you get started in doing land deals?
Yeah, I'll say so I got started doing land out of necessity. Honestly, in 2016, I had racked up so much debt mailing houses, and I had a bunch of rentals that were renovated, and all my cars were pretty much maxed out. I was a first lieutenant. Actually, I was a second lieutenant in the military. I was a brand new second lieutenant in the military. I was enlisted before I went to non-commissioned officer, and then the Army sent me to be an officer. And then I had just moved basically to my next duty station as a brand new Army officer. And I was preparing for my third combat deployment. When I was enlisted, I was back-to-back deployment. And I did not want to have to possibly lose another marriage due to being gone all the time. And this time there was children involved. So I didn't want history repeating itself. So I was like searching for answers. I was studying the 4-hour work week like it was a manual. I'd listened to it multiple times on Audible, and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. You know, the houses weren't really working that well because it takes a lot of time talking people into selling you their house at a massive discount. You've got to go there. You got to sit on that dirty old nasty couch and then throw those shoes away when you leave. And that was one thing I did not have a lot of, which was time. So I was searching for answers. I was like, there's got to be another way, because I'd made a little bit of money in wholesaling houses. It helped me pay for college, things like that. And I had rentals. I had like 8 doors that were costing me money. So any discretionary income always went to the rental properties because something always needed fixed. And there's always a tenant not paying me. And I like to be a nice guy. So what happens to nice guys? They get paid last. So I heard a guy talking on a podcast about flipping vacant raw land. He was doing this crazy stuff. He was driving to other states and going to tax auctions. I was like, I can't do that. But I know there are people out there that are behind on their taxes, and I can maybe get to them before they get to that tax auction sale. So I took immediate action that night and started mailing people that were behind on their taxes a postcard, and my phone started ringing, and I started doing deals very quickly.
Nice. I love that. So really built, born out of necessity, trying to figure out a way to get out of this the house rat race, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, because it's definitely not passive. Whoever tells you like rentals are passive, they're not telling you the whole story, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, they're not. There's nothing passive about it. I don't care if you've got one rental property and you never hear from your tenant. You will eventually hear from them because there's a water heater that's going to go out. There's a roof that's going to leak. There's a sewer line that's going to back up. And all these things I just mentioned just happened in 1 week on one of our rental properties. Just
Uh,
one.
yeah. Yeah, so talk about a haircut on that, I'm sure. So how did you learn? Did you have a mentor? Did you have a coach?
Yeah.
You mentioned, some podcasts, but how'd you learn?
So many coaches. So one of my first coaches, I honestly have been practicing. I've been trying to get successful in real estate since 2007 when I got my real estate license and bought that first rental property. I took a little break from 2009 to 2013 because I had my tail tucked between my legs because I lost so bad in 2009. Like I quit. I was just a big quitter. And then I would say I finally became successful in real estate about 2017, about a year into buying and selling land when I finally had about $9,000 a month in land deals paying me each month, notes. And then I had also flipped a bunch of land and made a pile of money. So I guess the first coach I can talk about is Tom Kroll with Wholesaling Inc. He started Wholesaling Inc. And now I have the honor to be a land coach on the Wholesaling Inc. platform. And then, so I had that first guy I heard talking about land was Mark Podolsky on a podcast. And I didn't hire him as a coach at first. I probably made about $150,000 in land and had a couple notes paying me. I think I was up to like a couple thousand a month at that time. And I didn't realize that's one of the main things that he taught as well. I was just seller financing land because the land I was selling, Jeff, you probably are familiar with the area, Fort Carson, just west of Fort Carson. One of the parcels was right there at that state park. And I thought the land was garbage because it was landlocked by that state park. So why was I seller financing it? Because I didn't think anybody else in their right mind would pay me cash for it. And I had it sold overnight. So I built that up. And then I finally hired Mark to one-on-one coach me about 2017 timeframe. And that was the best money I've ever spent. Like he showed me a couple more techniques that I wasn't doing. And I did more of a process. And then I hired some other coaches. I took the Land Academy course. I took Jack Bosch's course because I'm a student. I always want to know if someone has like a little, gold nugget. So I took things from all of those guys. I read books on it. I have a 70-year-old gentleman that's been doing this. I'm sorry. I have a gentleman that's been doing this since the 70s that also taught me some techniques. And honestly, I'm thinking about hiring another coach that he only specializes in subdivides. And I don't do a lot of subdivides. I haven't done a lot of subdivides, but I'm sure I'm going to learn something from that guy too.
I love that, the whole concept of just being a lifelong learner and borrowing from different people and
Borrowing.
just having that culminate into, what is your particular type of approach and that type of thing. I think that is so crucial to figuring it out for how it's going to work for you, right? So, what types of land deals do you specialize in now?
Yeah, now really just the more infill lots. And what do I mean by infill lots? Here's my definition of it. There's usually a road by it, not always septic. I'm sorry, not always sewer, not always water, but there's usually a road somewhere close by. And it could be a dirt road. It could be a grass road. I don't care. I'll still buy the landlocked stuff, but I get it for next to nothing. I'll still buy the stuff in like the middle of nowhere, but it needs to be like a pretty good multiplier. But really, I keep it so simple. Can I make profit on it? And I like to at least make a minimum of $10,000 per parcel net profit.
That's great. And are you still seller financing those or what's
As many as I can. I'm buying one right now for $335,000. It should sell for about $550,000, and I'd like about $335,000 down. And here's why: because I want to pay off my lender, because this lender is more of a short-term lender.
Got it. I love that. I love that.
Brad. All right. I like that Brad's here. All right. Good to meet him.
Yeah. Yeah, you perked up Brad's ears when you're talking about paying out the lender. I love that.
Yeah. And I always get the 30-day blowout price from the realtors. That's why we're selling it for 550. And I made a huge mistake on this land deal. I don't know if anybody shares their mistakes in these podcasts, but I actually originally started at 550 with this seller. It's in Utah. I've never stepped foot in this area of Utah. And the seller was talking about, I'm sorry, not the seller, but the realtor, one of the realtors that I was talking to originally, before I gave him the address, I gave him the street name. And he was saying, he's telling me all this information. I could tell he knew what he was talking about. And I found him by looking at Redfin and seeing who was selling the land in that area. That's how you find the best realtors. That's how you find the land specialist realtors. Well, he said easy, should sell for $1 million. So I'm thinking, all right, 550, smoking hot deal. The seller's going to seller finance me. I just got to come up with $50,000 down. He'll finance for a couple of years. I was like, that's a great play. I can seller finance it to someone else. Well, he comes back later on last night. This is a deal happening right now. Says my wife is upset. I was like, great. You know what? I knew I should have got the wife on the phone too, because you want to know, like, sir, do you make decisions unilaterally? How do these work? Is your wife on board with this? Because I saw his wife was also on the deed, and I didn't. I chickened out, like I didn't do it. So his wife said, or he says, my wife's upset. She doesn't want to do seller financing. She doesn't want to do that, but we'll sell it to you cash for $375,000. I'm over here like to myself, oh my God, I'm robbing these people. But here's what I'm going to do. If I make a lot of money, I can always give them more money at closing, because I didn't want to steal the land. Well, I hear back from the realtor this morning. He goes, I looked at that address, because I did not send the address to that realtor until I had it under contract. Why? Because I've seen realtors steal deals before, never from me, but from another real estate agent, Josh Sloan. It happened to him, Jeff, if you know Josh Sloan. So I'm like, I'm not going to give him the address. So he looks at it and he goes, yeah, man, that one maybe 550. And I'm like, is that the blowout price? Like the 30-day blowout price? He said, yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, what if I have this thing a year and I have to pay a year's worth of interest? What if a oops factor happens? So I immediately texted the seller this morning. I've got bad news, and I forwarded them what the realtor said, and we're down to $335,000 now. So
Wow.
could have made a huge mistake.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I love about that is that so many people, I think, and especially I know, speaking from experience, when I was brand new to this, had that happen, I've been like, well, the deal's just falling apart. But the fact that you were able to negotiate with the seller, renegotiate with the seller, and get a price that works, I that's just fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little afraid. I didn't want to call him this morning because, like, we had come down so many times, but I was like, listen, I gave him the bad news first and then texted him a couple hours later. And the reason why I texted him is because I was really having a hard time understanding him on the phone. So the text was a lot better for me to communicate with him. So I said, I need to be close to about 220. I need to be at 225. And he replied back 235. And I was like, I gave it like 10 minutes. I was like, fine, let's just do it. So
yeah. No, that is great. So, can you talk a little bit about what were some of the biggest challenges that you had when you were doing your very first land deal? You obviously had a great start and having some success in the house industry, but what types of challenges did you face when you did your very first land deal?
So many. I'll tell you, one of the biggest challenges was I had no clue how to value the land. No clue whatsoever. I was going off the assessed value. I was going off of any realtor that I could find, Uncle Bob that had his real estate license that never sold a house before. And I made a bunch of mistakes doing that. And I really had to rely on my buyers to tell me where it was at. And most of the time I was pricing this stuff too low and they were like ripping me off. Lowballing me. And then I finally figured out how to start pricing this stuff by getting in touch with a real estate agent to show me like the solds that were happening in the area. And then I was like, it finally hit me like a brick. And I was like, Zillow and Redfin show what this land is selling for. These are free sites. So that was one of the hardest things in the beginning. Number two was this is going to sound stupid, but I had a lot of success very quickly. And I was still an Army officer and I was working like 13, 14-hour days for the military. Plus I had a newborn baby at home. So I was, those really quick wins that I had, I mean, the first land deal I bought for 285, sold it for 5,000. The second one I bought for 500, sold it for 500 down, 400 a month. And that was like, I'm talking about overnight. So the third one I bought from a bank for 25,000 next to Schriever Air Force Base and assigned that contract for 38,000. So I was like thinking anything I touch turns to gold. So I started buying land sight unseen. And I forgot everything in real estate that I had learned. You need to do title searches. You need to have a title insurance policy. Like I didn't even know what a quit claim deed was, but these sellers were giving me quit claim deeds. Now I know what they are. I don't do them anymore. And like Brad's like, oh my God, this guy's an idiot. 2016, the problem is like when you win, when you make a lot of money really quickly. And for me back then, like that was a lot of money, like really fast. And I think my fourth land deal was like a $78,000 assignment fee. So you start getting a little cocky and you start thinking, okay, whatever. I don't even have to look at this. The county says it's 3,500. I'm paying half of that. I'm paying like literally $1,500, less than half of that. And I figured it out in El Paso County, Colorado. It was about 10 times what the assessed value said it was. So $3,500 parcel minute was worth 35,000. So I'm like, I'm paying $1,500 for a $35,000 parcel of land. What can go wrong? Famous last words. It was a hole in the ground. There was a $175,000 IRS tax lien on it. But the amazing thing is I worked through every one of those mistakes and eventually made money on all of those parcels.
Wow, congrats on that. I've heard it said that one of the most vulnerable positions to be in business is right after a success because you're not, you're thinking like you can't go wrong, right? You start to kind of glaze over some of those details. So congratulations though for salvaging those deals. That's incredible.
Yeah, it worked out. Sometimes this time is the healer of all things that we hear that. One of those parcels that I had about only like $350 in, like I reopened an incorporation. I bought the land, all for $350. And then there was like $4,000 in back fees and fines. But I had a quit claim deed from this seller. Her husband died. He was a developer. We got it all worked out. And I sold it for $16,000. And we went to the title company. We got it all worked out. And then they say, hey, Brent, we just figured out there's a big problem. There's a $175,000 IRS tax lien attached to this land. And thank God I had not put that land in my name yet. And I'm freaking out, like thinking to myself, I could have just literally went bankrupt right there. This
Right.
is one of the first land deals, right? Well, I left that, and I've still got the filing cabinet right there. I left that deed in that filing cabinet for a year, and that seller called me. Why am I still receiving these tax bills? Like I didn't know what to say to her. I was afraid, so I didn't even reply back to her. And I talked to enough people over that year, and I talked to one person that was he was a few years ahead of me in land, and he said, those things fall off eventually. So I contacted an investor-friendly title company. That's huge, by the way. And how do you find investor-friendly title companies? You reach out to the players. Who are the players? Where are you at, Kendall? Where do you live?
I'm in Austin.
Sell my house fast, Austin, Texas. You call the top 3 people that are coming up on Google. Those are the players in this business. You say, hey, I'm a brand new land investor in Austin, Texas. Can you please help me by referring me to a investor-friendly title agent? Oh, by the way, what are you doing with your land deals? I'm a land buyer. I notice you're a house buyer. I'll pay your assignment fee. Oh yeah, you want to send them over? Great. And thanks for referring Tammy Thomas at Heritage Title Company. So I found Tammy and I was like, listen, can you please help me with this land deal? I want to clean the title, like whatever it takes. She goes, looks good. Just pay the $4,000 to Fountain, Colorado, the city of Fountain, for the mowing. I was like, no IRS tax lien? She goes, no, I don't see that. So that second time I sold it for $38,000 on payment. I got $5,000 down and $536 a month for almost 7 years. They finally just paid off.
Wow, I love that. So many great nuggets in that little bit right there, just about finding an investor friendly title company. I mean, that's huge. That's absolutely massive. Do you ever do self closings now, or do you always work with title companies?
Not on the buy side, not when I'm buying it. I always get a title insurance policy, unless literally I got the land for free. But I'm still running I'm still running a title insurance check. Liens and encumbrances, O&E, all everything,
Yeah,
basically. But when I sell it, if the buyer doesn't want to go through that process, we'll type up a warranty, or my assistant will type up a warranty deed. No problem. Or if they want to do a land contract, I'm trying to get away from land contracts and contracts for deed. I'm trying to do more mortgages or deeds of trust and mortgages or promissory notes, because like if you came and did a backflip off my roof and you broke your neck, you'd sue me and the insurance company. But if I have a mortgage, like, you're not suing the mortgage company, or you're not suing the bank. I shouldn't say. I don't. You don't hear of that anyways. I'm sure it could happen, but I just want to start reducing the liability.
yeah, that's really good advice. So I like to ask this question to every guest that I have on the show because I think that the perspectives are so fascinating and you can get so much information from this. So let me ask you, where do you see the market going now? And what are you going to do to thrive in the upcoming market shifts?
Well, um, I think we're in it. We're in for a big correction and change, because billionaires are usually pulling out of the market about a year before anything hits the news, and billionaires started pulling out about 7 months ago. So, will I keep buying land at today's prices? Yeah, but I'm looking for massive discounts, and I'm selling it in 30 days. Like, I'm going to keep playing, but I'm preparing for a massive drop. So, like, for instance, I'm trying to get everything around 50 cents on the dollar on today's prices. What are today's prices? Like, I'm looking like no further than the last 3 months.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's really good. Now, what would you say are the most important skill sets to have in the land industry?
Woo. Um, well, my I would say number one, without a fact, you're willing to mail landowners, or at least talk to them, whether it be text or cold calling. I don't do any of that stuff. I like to mail because it's a lifestyle business, but you've got to be willing to send those letters to landowners. Blind
Excellent.
faith. If you're brand new at this, if you're just getting started, you got to have blind faith. I just did an interview today, with a gentleman, Joe Cody. He made $153,000 net profit on his first land deal. He mailed 300 letters to get that. 300 land offer letters. Guys, I'm telling you, these blind offers work. What I call them land offer letters. I'm sending an exact offer for the exact amount that I'll pay, for that land. If anybody wants a copy of the one I'm sending, I'm triple split testing this, by the way, against postcards, against checks, like these envelopes that look like checks, and these land offer letters are doing twice as good as those other two combined. If anybody wants a copy of that, just go to the landsharks.com/LOL. That's for the only land fans. I'm going to take that down in a couple of days, so you better hurry up. But so we'll email it over to you. Again, that's the landsharks.com/LOL. I can put it in the chat. But those land offer letters, they work. Sometimes you got to send a couple thousand. So don't get hung up on that 300. But all I'm getting at, if you do the math, take 153,000 and divide it by 300 letters, that's over $511 a letter. Like, if you put your mindset around every time I send one of those letters, I spend $1 and I make $511 back, you'll get over your mailing fear. Some people, it's only $4 a letter, $4 profit per letter. So if I spend $1, I make $4 back. Like, if you figure those KPIs out, those key performance indicators, how much you sent, how much you spent, how much you made, you'll get over that mailing fear. Now, will it still be a fear? Maybe. It's like a little small candle compared to a spotlight, though.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that perspective in that, you put $1 in, you get $4 or $5 out. That's so important because I know so many people that look at marketing as a, a cost versus an investment, right? And in our business, if you're not marketing, you're not getting anything, right? Like your pipeline is kind of dead if you're not marketing. So,
Yeah.
what a great perspective shift. I love that.
You got to look at it as like you're planting seeds. Every time you send a letter, that's a little seed. And, what's the second letter? 12 weeks later, you should send a second letter. That's like the water.
Interesting. So, talk to us a little bit about what your marketing flow is. So, these letters, you said they're offer letters. So, how do you go about even figuring out at that scale what to put in the offer letter? Can you talk to us about that?
Like the price I want to offer for the land.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that you say flow too, because, when you're just starting out, like I like people to imagine one of those red farmhouse pumps that you pump it and you pump it and you pump it. You crank that handle and all you hear the air, and eventually all the air runs out and then water starts to trickle out and then water starts to flow out. Now, once that water starts flowing, you can slow that pump down, but never, ever stop pumping it. You can pay someone to pump it. You can pump it yourself. You can slow it down, but you cannot let it stop. So I've been sending about 300 letters a week now since about 2016 timeframe. So that flow has really built up. Now, have we slowed it down at sometimes? Sometimes I've stopped it like an idiot because I was too busy. Well, you don't know what you don't know. I shouldn't say like an idiot. Like I just didn't know. Like I was focused on the 10 deals that just came, and I'm like, oh, I can't mail anymore. No way. And the mail house is like, Brent, are you like, what's wrong? Why aren't you mailing? I just didn't get it. But how do I figure out what I want to offer? So it depends on the area. Like some people really love selling those $10,000 parcels of land because they're cheap. I can buy it and then I can sell it and I can double or triple, quadruple my money. So if I'm mailing, which I don't mail these areas anymore, it takes the same amount of time to make $100,000 on a land deal as it does to make a couple thousand. I didn't know that starting out. I just had no confidence. I didn't know what I was doing. Sometimes I still don't believe that this works because this is crazy. Like I'm second guessing myself on this Utah deal. I'm like, does this guy really own it? Like, that negotiation was way too easy. But anyhow, it's just like, no, it's not too good to be true. This has been around since before houses. Like land was the first investment in real estate. So if I'm offering on a $10,000 parcel, I can sell it for 10,000. I'm offering about 10 cents on the dollar. I want to pay about $1,000. Now, if I'm on $1 million parcel of land, if I'm going to assign that contract, I can offer like 80 cents on the dollar, 89 cents on the dollar, 82 cents on the dollar. Now, if we're talking about a $550,000 parcel of land, then I don't know, let's do the math. Like I wanted to be at 225. So 500 divided by 225. Oops, I did that wrong. 225 divided by 500,000. That's 45 cents on the dollar. I originally sent those offer letters out wrong because I thought that whole neighborhood was selling for $1 million a parcel. I did that math too quick and I didn't micro down. So everyone got offers at about a little over 50 cents on the dollar.
Wow. So just to clarify, you're not going through, let's say you send 300 pieces of mail in 1 week. You're not going through every single one of those leads and running comps and saying, okay, this is how much I can get for it. This is how much I want to offer for it. You're kind of doing these in batches, right? Hey, land fans, looking for your tribe of serious land investors? Join thousands of your fellow land lovers in the OnlyLandFans Facebook group. We're talking real deals, expert strategies, and game-changing connections you won't find anywhere else. This isn't just another real estate group. This is the community where land investors come to level up. Join us at onlylandfansgroup.com and join the conversation today. That's onlylandfansgroup.com. See you there.
Yeah, they're in batches as micro down to the neighborhood size. So I will pick a neighborhood and I'm going to see what's selling. And I'm going to start with that size first, that size parcel first. So let's just say it's anything that's selling in there is there's some half acre lots, there's some 3/4 acre lots, there's some 1 acre lots. So today I'm gonna start with the half acre lots. Tomorrow, 3/4 acre lots. The next day, 1 acre lots, and everyone's getting its own pricing. I use are you familiar with Pebble?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use Pebble for it. It's amazing.
Nice. Very good. And so you mentioned that you have a follow-up letter that happens. What's sort of your marketing sequence? So you send out that first letter, and then what happens?
Yeah. So the first letter, crickets. I'll do two things. One, I'll send another land offer letter, or I'll just send the tribe postcard. We call it the tribe postcard. It's a handwritten postcard that says, "Hey, my name's Brent. I'd like to buy your land at 123 Main Street, or in Austin, Texas. If you're interested in an all cash, fair price offer, call me or text me. God bless you." If anybody wants a copy of that, go to the thelandsharks.com/postcard. I bought, holy cow, I can't even tell you how much property with that. That postcard is simple. It's
Nice.
super.
Yeah. And so are you driving everyone? Is the idea to drive everyone to a phone call? And then how do you process those phone calls?
Yeah, I prefer not to get on the phone. With the postcard, yeah, it's got to go to a phone call. So I'm not sending as much of those these days. I'll tell you that. I'm really trying to stay more towards the LOL, but if it's a good area and I had some success, I'm going to follow up with that postcard, because I will get different people that call that postcard that will throw that land offer letter away. So it's like a different psychology of person. If someone's really serious about an area, you send them that land offer letter, you send them a postcard, and then you skip trace that list, and then you call them, and then you text them. You're pretty much going to hit all the different psychologies, except for going and knocking on that door.
Nice. And so let's just talk about what, let's say in a perfect scenario, you send out the offer letter, they're interested. What happens after that? Do they call in, or do they sign a contract, or how does that work for you?
Sometimes they call. Sometimes, like just the other day, we got an email. Like we get email, we give them multiple options: email, call, fax, or they send it back via United States Postal Service. I have an acquisition manager. He's very part-time. He's been traveling a lot around the world. He designs sprinkler systems for commercial buildings, and he's not been able to take the calls as much lately. So I was like, take the phone number off. Let's try something out. Let's see if we can get them to send via fax. And I have an e-fax. It's like myfax.com for $9.97 a month. Let's see if we can get them to do a fax, an email, or for them to send it back to our UPS box. So we're trying that out right now. I don't have data on it yet. But yeah, they'll call. Like, for instance, we closed one the other day via email. Bought it for $15,000, had 6 weeks to find our buyer. We listed it on the MLS. Even though we didn't own it, we just put it on the MLS with the contract. The seller knew what we were doing. We explained to him that we're wholesalers. We're not keeping the land. And I actually didn't find my buyer in that 6 weeks. So I was like, well, it's a no-brainer. I'll buy it for 15. I know they're selling for 30. And I got a contract right away, like a week later after I bought it. And I think we closed on it in like 2 weeks from now. But that will be about $11,000 net profit after the realtor's paid. And I've never spoken to that seller on the phone.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. So how do you go about picking a target area to find your deals?
Man, I'll tell you, I got this majorly complicated system. I look at all this data. I'm just kidding. I just want to see where land is selling. That's simple.
Land selling. That's
Where
it.
land selling? Where am I seeing clusters of sold? I use these amazing tools that cost me a lot of money called Redfin and Zillow. I'm just kidding, they're free. So I put in my area that I want to go to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to all filters. I'm going to look at the sold land, only sold land. And I want to see what's happened in the last month. And I'm going to go back to my area, and I'm going to exit out, and I'm going to look at the map, and I'm going to zoom out, and I'm kind of going to scan and pan and see where I can see little clusters of sold land. You will find some amazing areas. Like, I just want to see land selling. What does that tell me? There's demand. There's demand if it's selling in that area. And then I can also see, how much per acre it's selling for, how much per square foot it's selling for. And then the secret weapon, who listed it and who it was bought by, who the listing agent was, who it was bought by, because that's going to be your boots on the ground. What about like Brent? I'm in Utah. I'm in Texas. We got non-disclosure states. You can still see where the stuff's selling. You can see what the last listed price is. And then you better find a realtor to team up with and get MLS access. I'm not a realtor. I don't recommend becoming a realtor to do this. If you're already a realtor, maybe you can let that licensing go. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously though, like you don't have to be a real estate agent to do this business. This is the lowest barrier of entry to get into real estate.
Yeah, that's great. And so whenever you are analyzing these deals or choosing which deals to go after, what's your criteria for your deals?
Yeah, I just want to make a lot of money. So I want to make it, I want to make at least a minimum of $10,000 per land deal, preferably more now. So criteria is I got to see solds happening, and I'm generally trying to stay above at least a $50,000 sold price, because there's a lot less competition. I'm actually going even higher now. That's why I'm dabbling in these $1 million parcels.
Yeah, that's really good. So you're finding that there's less competition above $50,000 sold price.
Oh yeah. So the last several parcels that I bought have been anywhere from 130 to 153,000. The last several parcels, and what's amazing about those is like I bought 6 lots for 132,000. I just sold them all for 210 just as a package. And then the $153,000 lot, that's in Daytona Beach. I should hopefully, we're waiting on the contract on that one. I think we have it sold for 250, but I'm going to finance a lot of that one. They're coming up with $30,000 down.
Nice. So you've mentioned earlier about, you mentioned assignment fees, wholesaling, seller finance. What are your kind of main go-to acquisitions processes that you go through? Do you close on these yourself? Talk us through that process.
Yeah. So I will, it depends really. It depends on the area. If I'm in Florida, I'll assign the contract. If I find a buyer in time, I'll sign the contract via the MLS if I find the buyer in time. If not, I'll close on it, and I'll either flip it or sell it on seller financing. My preferred method is I always try and get some type of seller financing, because ultimately I think that's where the most money in this business is made. You make a ton of money on interest. You can kind of break up your taxes that you're going to have to pay on your ordinary income that you own on or owe on these land sold. And I want time freedom. I want financial freedom. I want that money coming in each month.
Yeah, a lot more passive than rental properties, right?
Rental and passive do not, like, that's the biggest myth, I think. There's nothing passive about rentals. I don't even care if you have a property manager. There's always something that needs fixed.
Always something. So whenever you're buying these properties, do you ever buy them on terms, or is it all cash or assigning? Are those the two options?
Yeah, I always push for terms. I'll even offer the seller more money for terms, because it's like I would rather pay that seller, a higher amount. Because, like for instance, if I pay my lender 9%, I can figure out what that's going to be with that seller and give them a higher purchase price and not quite pay 9%, and then get what we call principal payments or 0% interest. So let me just explain what I mean by that. It's like you can look at what you would pay a private lender. Easy math. If you're paying, 10% on $100,000, you could figure what you're going to pay each year and finance that for several years, and you can bump that seller's price up. And they're like, what? How can you offer that much? Well, that would mean you would take payments. Like, that's how I can offer that much, because you would be taking payments each month. Well, I don't want to take payments. Well, I'd love to buy the land, but I don't really have, the cash right now, but I can come up with this much each month.
Listen up, land fans. This is huge. We're bringing you the one and only Pace Morby, star of A&E's Triple Digit Flip and the mastermind behind $450 million in real estate deals. He's coming to our virtual meetup on Thursday, December 5th to share how he's applying his creative financing genius to land deals. Head to olfmeetup.com to save your spot today. That's olfmeetup.com. This is the kind of opportunity that changes everything. Very good. I was about to ask the question, what are some of the most successful strategies that you've used to position buying on terms with the seller? So you mentioned that's fantastic to position it that way. Do you have any other kind of tips if someone's interested in buying on terms, how to position that with the seller?
Yeah, just you want to really talk to the seller. Like the guy I'm buying the land from in Utah, like we haven't had much of a conversation because I'm having a hard time understanding him. So I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I want to listen. I want to hear what he needs. Like I finally figured it out. He needs to pay medical bills fast. And he's not interested in $5,000 a month because that's what I would pretty much offer. I was offering him $4,200 a month. And that didn't float his boat. He needed cash quick to pay off those medical bills. So it's just really seeing what they need to use that money for, what they want to use that money for. And it's like peeling an onion. It's like 7 layers deep. And maybe by the time you get to the 7th layer, you're crying. So you want to figure out what they need, what their situation is, how you can help them, because it might not be a pile of cash. Because one time we gave a seller a pile of cash and it was stolen from her very shortly after. So that seller would have benefited from a 6-year note at 8% interest because no one would have been able to steal that from her. She would have had the first lien position on the land and we would have had a buyer on that land. So she would have definitely been paid because we're making money on that land, or we did seller finance that land to a buyer. So it's like, I feel like we did this lady a disservice because her cash got stolen. So now she has nothing. Well, if she would have seller financed to us, she would still have a payment coming in still to this day.
Wow. So how do you, what are some rules of thumb that you have to structure where you're buying on terms? Do you have any rules of thumb that you go about, or how do you figure out how long the term needs to be and all of that stuff?
It's every deal it depends on every single deal. I don't think there's a box, like there's no rules in this. And as long as your buyer's happy, your seller's happy, your lender's happy, and you're happy, and everyone's making money, then I think I don't know about rules of thumb. I mean, it's just every deal. That's why I love this so much. I'm like a deal architect or a deal engineer. And we say it's land because it's simple. Like I was in the military. I was in the Army. So we're like knuckle draggers. I wasn't smart enough for the Air Force. Like I like to keep it simple with land, but I love the creativity about it.
Yeah. They call it creative finance for a reason, right?
Yeah. Like there's like, anything you could dream up, you can do. But I also make things simple on myself too. We have, the note tracking system that's all automated. The buyers get late fees when they're late. And the other day I figured out that my father-in-law is a lender for us and we pay him 9% interest. I found out that he got 3 payments late. Immediately we sent him his late fees, $50 each. So send them extra $150 for late fees. So now with bill.com, we use bill.com and I hate them, by the way. So I would never recommend them to anybody because they're always late paying our stuff. So now we send his payment on the 20th and he sometimes, most of the time, gets it by around the 1st or the 3rd. It's late on the 5th. So, but it takes the guesswork out of it.
Sure. So you mentioned, note tracking software systems. How do you go about servicing the notes that you have on your properties?
Yeah, I use easynotetracking.com. And, you can have as many notes as you like for $99 a month. I'm not using a professional servicing company. Now, if you're planning to sell these notes, then I recommend like using a professional note servicing company. I'm just using software. I don't plan on selling my notes. If we want to sell the notes, here's what we do. My assistant calls all of our payers, our land buyers, and gives them like a 10% off discount if they pay off the note. And she talks to them like, how's your credit? How's this? How's that? And she tells them that they can go and get like a 0% interest credit card for 18 months and save 10% off for us and then have 0% interest for 18 months. So a lot of times they'll take it and they'll pay us off.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. So how do you market your properties for buyers? Like, how do you find the buyers? I know that you mentioned the MLS. Is there any other dispo strategy that you use?
Yeah, so I recommend all of them. So when I was doing a lot of this buying and selling the cheaper parcels, like anywhere from 15,000 or lower, holy cow, it was a lot of work. It was so worth it though, because we built up quite a bit of notes. But we used, before I was on like every land website, like land.com, Land and Farm, Land Watch, Land Moto, Land Century, Land Hub. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of them. We would put them on Craigslist and Facebook buy sell groups, Facebook Marketplace, signs. They work. I said it 3 times for a reason. Neighbor letters 4 times. Those work. So all those strategies. But let me tell you, the one thing that took out all of those, a realtor, a land specialist realtor. But they like to be a little bit more expensive parcels. So there's the trade. And I was able, when we started, like I've got a lot of cheap land left. If anybody wants it, call me. But when we started working with realtors, I was able to cancel thousands of dollars a month in subscriptions. I was able to get rid of 2 virtual assistants, and I mean get rid of them, like they were dead weight, like they were starting to like just slack off, and 1 full-time person that was literally selling our land. At one time, I think we were selling about 9 parcels of land a week.
Wow.
That was too much aggravation.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, speaking of realtors, what does the commission structure look like that you
Most
offer?
of them charge me 6%. I've had some charge 10%. I've had some charge a flat fee of like $1,600. Honestly, I just build that in, just figure it out. Like, when I'm talking to them and I say, hey, I got this great deal on, Wichita Street. What do you think the land would sell for? It's about 2 acres. But when I get it under contract, I'll give them the address and I say, great, what would you charge me to list that property? And what do you do to get that land sold? I want it sold in 30 days. I want to get it done now price. I want the fire sale. I want the blowout price. Don't be pricing this like pie in the sky. Like, we need to be the cheapest thing on the MLS, because when Mark and Mary Smith look at the land in that area, I want them to say, this land's cheaper. Let's just buy that one. It's not like a house. This one has granite. Oh, this one has a pool. No, this is land. This is land. This one's for $5,000 less. Let's get that one. And he offers financing.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And so, just to dig even deeper into that, can you go into a little bit more detail about how you choose? You already mentioned it earlier, but how do you choose these realtors that are land specialists? Because not all realtors are the same, right? Like, you have some that really into selling houses and they can talk to you about residential, but land is often a different game. Can you talk about that?
Do you want me to share my screen and show you exactly what I'm talking about, how to do it?
Absolutely.
All
Let
right.
me get you.
Holy cow, Brad had a lot of takeaways.
Yeah,
Wow.
Brad is amazing.
All right, let's see. Let me open up a screen here. Redfin. All right, let's go to where did you guys go? All right. All right, so Austin, Texas. Here we go. Austin, Texas. I'm going to go to all filters right here. Sold. I'm going to scroll to land. Let's see what's going on in Austin, Texas. And then I'm going to exit this out. And then let's find a little pocket in Austin, Texas. There's a lot going on. That's very overwhelming. So let's just go to 7 days. Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right, look at this little pocket right here. Look at that. Oh, right here. I want this area right here. This one right here above B Cave. Let's look at what's going on in the last 30 days. Oh my goodness, that's overwhelming. That's too much. Let's go down here. This is the last 30 days. Why won't this move? I want to mail this area right here. So I'm going to click on this. 549,000. 10 acres. So it sold for about 54,000 an acre, right?
Yeah.
Look at who listed it. Mario. No, I'm sorry. This was the last listed price.
Last
This
listed
is
price.
Texas. Where's it at? I should say, yeah, last list price. So it might have sold for less. Mario listed it. It was bought by a non-member. I don't call these people. Oh, there's an ad. There's a phone number though. But I'm going to click on every one of these and I want to see who, if Mario keeps popping up, because that's going to be my land specialist realtor. I don't know why I'm not able to click on him. Scroll down. Listed by James, bought with Marcy. But I'm going to click on every one of these. And another thing I like to do is I like to copy and paste. Like I would want to know why this one sold for 49,000. Oh, it's 0.29 acres. It's really small. Zachary, non-member. But I'm going to copy and paste all of this right here. Right. No, not all of it. Just those two right there. And I'm going to see if I can see a pattern. And before I pull the trigger and buy anything in this area, like I'm going to call each one of those realtors, see who answers the phone, see who knows the area the best. And the conversation is really simple. And usually it's like this. Hey, I'm a land investor. I just got a piece of land under contract in whatever Beeline area. Wanted to see what you think as far as what the 30-day blowout price is. What's the get her done now price? Or hey, I'm a brand new investor in the area. I buy land. I'm about to do a mailing campaign for this area. I wanted to see if you can help me. It looks like the 10-acre parcels are really selling in this area, anywhere from 1 to 10-acre parcels. Can you send me a sheet of what the last 3 months, what the 1-acre parcels to the 10-acre parcels are selling for by the acre? And you'll have that data and you can start mailing with that data.
That is fantastic. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. So, in your opinion, what's something that not very many people, or maybe even no one, is really talking about in the land industry right now that we should be talking about?
What's no one talking about in the land industry that we should be talking about? Oh man. I don't know. That's a really good question. It's like my bedtime, so I don't even know. I'm an early riser, by the way. Let's do here we go. This is what we should be talking about. There's a lot of money on this call. Why don't we get together and put a fund together and we buy like 15 million acres somewhere? And I don't know, like, and put all of our money together and do big deals.
Nice. That's one of the things I really love so much about the land industry is that there are so many people willing to collaborate and do deals together. Much more than in my experience with the single family housing market. So that's one of the things that I really like. I love that idea. I'm all in. So when you find when you find other partners, so we can buy, that 15 million acres, let's do it. That's
If we
good.
all had Brad's money, we could just put it all together. Go.
Exactly. So what would you consider to be your superpower?
I just take action. I just take action. Like I didn't have all the answers when I first heard that podcast. I just started mailing the tax delinquent list. I actually was mailing the county held tax lien list. It really wasn't the tax delinquent list because the county thought I wanted to purchase tax liens. So they sent me the garbage that hadn't been bought yet. And I mailed all those people. And I say the garbage that hadn't been bought yet. This was like non-buildable landlocked land. That's why my phone blew up. And I didn't know any better. So I was like, yeah, can I get it for free? How about $100? $285. And then I didn't know what it was worth. So I called the realtor. She's like, maybe 10,000. And then that same realtor made me an offer for 5,000. And I was buying it for $285. And I was like, whatever, that's profit. Let's do it. So it's just, you don't need all the answers. And that's my superpower. I know I'm never going to have all the answers. And I also believe in, before this book came out, I was like, this is me. Like who, not how. Like it's who can help me. Like, I'm never going to know all the answers. I don't care to know all the answers.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the idea of just taking action. Messy action is so much better than, a perfect plan that you don't implement, right?
Oh, has it been messy? Oh,
So, you just mentioned who, not how. What other, business owners, entrepreneurs, maybe influencers do you like to follow?
I really don't follow. Um, I'll read their books and, you know, I can't think of one off the top of my head that I'm following right now. Um, I'm reading Jan Jones' book, The CEO's Secret Weapon. Great book. And like some people might not have a executive assistant, but I'm trying to figure out ways me and my executive assistant can leverage how I can leverage her better, how I can get more results from her. That the executive assistant, it wasn't the films, I'm sorry, it wasn't the recording studio owner that found Elvis Presley. It was his assistant. So, I'm diving into that, but I'm always learning. Profit First is another book that I've been really, really talking about lately quite a bit. Obviously the Bible, I try and read that every morning. I almost said I read that every morning, but see, that's why I got to read the Bible, because I almost lied there.
It was a good catch. It was a very good catch. So, what's the biggest surprise you've had so far on your journey in the land space?
That this really works. It's
Right.
still,
Yeah.
I can't believe it's too good to be true. And my dad, he's done like 50 land deals. That's a surprise to me. Like my dad, like he's turning 61 years old tomorrow. And he's done he's done 50 land deals now. And he's done manual labor his entire life. Like his body's breaking down. So that surprised me. Like he's doing it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. If you could go back and tell yourself three pieces of advice when you were a newbie, what would they be?
Mail often, mail every day, mail consistently, never stop mailing, even if you got too many deals going right now.
Very, very good advice. I love that. What's your biggest passion or goal you'd like to achieve at this point in your life?
Um, you know what? Geez, so many. Like right now, I'm on a mission to help more people become land investors. That's a huge passion. My next goal that I'm about to hit is have six support calls a week, 6 days a week, for my land shark students. I want to pay off our vacation home. Actually, I haven't paid it off, so that's another goal. I was looking at it. I actually am about to do a land deal that the profit should hopefully pay that property off. So I always have goals. Always have goals.
Great. I love it. I love it. And what makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
Usually after I leave during my workout every morning. So I feel like I'm being my best self then.
Excellent. So, I just wanted to ask you because, first of all, you've given us so much value. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and giving us so much of your expertise and your knowledge. How can we give back to you right now? What types of resources or connections are you looking for currently?
Yeah, I'm looking for more lenders. Definitely looking for more lenders. I have a bunch of smaller lenders that with like 20,000, 100,000, 200,000. But now that I'm really like I've had a great time buying in the $150,000 range, the $50,000 range. But now I'd like to start buying in the five, six, $700,000 range. I was inspired by one of my students. He bought the land for 700,000, sold it for 1.5 million. And then another student did a $450,000 net profit deal because he raised $1 million. So, I guess I'm looking for ideas on how to do that, either private lenders, or we can do a LLC with an operating agreement, or maybe I just need to put a fund together. I haven't done the fund thing because I didn't want to be like a slave to the people that had the money in there. Like, go find me a deal. But I don't know. I'm looking for ways to start doing those $1 million deals.
Nice. So if someone's listening to this and says, "Hey, I have money or I have access to money," how can they get in touch with you to connect with you about that?
Yeah, the easiest way to get in touch with me is hit me up on my cell phone. I'll drop my cell phone number in here, 863-801-6959. I'm on Instagram, Brent L. Bowers, thelandsharks.com. I'm pretty much on all the socials, Brent L. And yes, that L stands for land, Brent L. Bowers 1.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a wonderful week. Be safe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. If you're interested in hearing from other seven-figure land flippers about how they've started and run their businesses, then join us at onlylandfans.com. Looking forward to seeing you there.